Episode 42. She's Me. I pulled my wagon up to the gate and let myself in. Water bottles kicked aside as I pushed the gate open. I unloaded my stuff into the RV, then spent a few hours finding places for everything. On my second trip, I decided to bring everything else, leaving nothing behind but the stuff we use for cooking and my blankets and dishes and tea. Once I got everything unloaded, I was tired and decided it was time to test out that bed. I made my way to the back and curled up for a siesta. In my dreams, I imagined a large sinkhole opening up from underneath me, the RV and I with it falling in and rolling in the air. When I heard muffled groans, I thought it was myself at first, but it wasn't. There were groans coming from nearby. Hello? I yelled, sitting up. Nothing. I scrambled to my feet and stood still. Hello? I yelled again, then froze again. Another groan. Who's there? I asked, trying to identify the direction of the groan. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid I couldn't hear. Silence. Oh God, what if it's haunted, I thought. When the next groan came, I nearly ran out of the door, but was able to identify that it was in fact a person. I looked out the window at the school bus that sat a few feet away. The windows were black. I pushed my ear to the glass instead. When the next one came, it came clearly from the bed. Now I was really confused. I began ripping the blankets off. I pulled the drawers out of each side. Nothing. When the next groan came, I lifted the mattress and found a handle that lifted the entire bed, and did. The bed swung up, revealing a hole. Is anyone down there? I yelled down into the dark. I could see a ladder, but nothing more. I grabbed my gun, then fumbled with my phone to boot it up and turn on the flashlight app. A faint groan came back. My hair raised. This was so much scarier than even that night with Marty. I'm not here to hurt you, I yelled down. But I am armed and will kill you. No sound came back. I swirled the light around and found it was a rather large space underneath. I found a cord and pulled it, and a light came on. I still couldn't see where the noise came from. I decided to go for it and reached a leg to the ladder and started to go down, with my gun pointing down ahead of me. There was a large room carved out of the ground. The air was cool. Around me lay trash, empty water bottles, and porno magazines. A CD player on a table covered in cigarette butts. There was one chair and a bucket. In the far end of the room was a woman, slumped over to her side, chained to a large gun safe. Fucking Marty, I said out loud, rushing to her. She didn't try making noise now. She just lay on her side. There were water bottles beside her, but they were all empty. I rushed back upstairs as fast as I could and got water. More water than one person could drink. She didn't move, but I trickled water into the side of her mouth. There wasn't any response. I tried tilting her head to put more in her mouth, but she was still unresponsive. I tilted her head to pour the water back out of her mouth, afraid she would choke. I pulled her into a sitting position. She was older, maybe late 30s, maybe early 40s. It depended on how long she'd lived in DeReg. After trying to shake her and trying to feed her more water, a part of me started to wonder if she was dead. I didn't even check her pulse. No, she's not dead. There is no way she was making noise only to die the second she was found. That's not fair. Besides, she hadn't pissed herself. Not recently anyway. She wasn't dead yet. I did the last thing I could think of and dumped the cold water on her, covering her head and body. She inhaled quickly and opened her eyes. They were red, and I could tell she couldn't focus on me. It's okay. It's okay. You're safe now, I said. Drink. I continued, putting the water to her mouth. She drank very little before trying to close her eyes. I shook her and dumped more in. She tried to keep up. This wouldn't be enough. For the next few hours, I sat there with her, dribbling water into her mouth and shaking her awake to swallow. I got blankets and made the ground softer, pulling her on top. She felt cold, and I wrapped her up. Minutes dragged on like hours. I knew she wasn't aware of her surroundings. This probably was another dream to her, so I kept saying, "You're safe now. It's okay," every few minutes. If she was going to die, she'd die in a dream where she was saved. I tried the key in Marty's wallet, but it didn't work on the lock. I'd need to figure that out next. But for now, water was everything. Once I got a full bottle in her, I climbed out of the pit and went to Margie. I asked her to go get Ray because I had an emergency. I didn't want to alert anyone yet because I didn't know the circumstances. Margie didn't know Ray and didn't feel comfortable, so I asked her to get Carol then, and have her get Ray. She was willing to do that. I left the gate unlocked, then climbed back under the bed. V? Yelled Ray after a while. I got up, and as I was climbing the ladder, I saw him at the other end of the RV. Are you okay? He blurted out, panting. Yes, I'm fine. I realized he thought it was me who was in danger. I found a compartment under here, I said, my head sticking up from under the bed. There is a woman chained up and nearly dead. A what? Ray yelled, louder than I'd ever heard him. I've been getting her to drink, but she's barely conscious. She's chained, and I don't have a key, but I think if we can tip the safe, we can get the chain pulled out. Ray's head was spinning so fast, his eyes darted back and forth. Get down here, I commanded after a minute of this. Clearly, he wasn't processing words, but he would process commands. Halfway down the ladder, he jumped down and came to my side, kneeling beside her. Her eyes looked up at him, but she still wasn't registering anything. I've been pouring water in her mouth so she can slowly drink it, I told him. Her eyes were redder a few hours ago, and her skin is gaining some color back. But she's far from okay. This chain is around the foot of this safe, I continued. I can't budge it, but maybe we both can. He nodded, still staring at her, and stood up. I pulled the blanket and her on it, a little further away than positioned myself. Ray did the same and we tried to tip it. It lifted, then fell down again with a large clang. Things rattled inside, but we barely moved it. We tried again and again. We're going to need more people, he finally said. Why do you think she's down here? I asked. Sex, Ray replied flatly. I guess that was obvious. Shit. We're going to need 2 more guys, he continued. That way you can pull the chain out. I sat staring at her in shock. V, did you hear me? Ray asked. I don't want people to know, I stammered. Why? Ray asked. She's me, I replied. Episode 43. I Saw You on TV. Ray and I came up with a new plan. He would go back to the cul-de-sac, fix dinner, and ask if anyone knew how to pick a lock, while I would stay here taking care of her. Ray took the keys to both my fences. He would lock us in and return in the morning. I fixed some canned soup for the both of us. Dropped pillows and blankets into the hole so that we both would have some cushion. I fed her some broth, but through the night she didn't move at all. Her breathing became gradually deeper, though. I took it as a good sign. I slept in the other corner of the room, out of her reach, in case she did wake up. I laid there overthinking. If we got the safe moved, how long would she have to carry that tow chain with her? Would she even survive? What would I do with a corpse chained to a safe in my basement? Holy shit, I have a basement. I began to appreciate how chilled the air was even during the day down here. That will be nice to escape to. I imagined I would bring my blanket pile down and make a second bed. I wondered if I would ever get the safe open. Around sunup, she groaned a little. I woke up immediately and went to her. Are you okay? I asked. You're safe. You've been rescued. I followed up. The only movement was a twitching of her closed eyes. I noticed she had pissed herself, which I decided was a good thing. It meant we had some water moving through her again. We shared another can of soup. Then I decided to clean her. It felt wrong to undress her, but it seemed wrong to leave her in the dehumanizing state he had left her. By the time Ray had arrived, I'd changed her clothes, brushed her hair, and laid her on her back with her arms on her stomach. She just seemed more put together that way. Did she die? Ray shrieked as he jumped down from the ladder. No, I just cleaned her up. I couldn't stand seeing her like that, I replied. No one knows how to pick a lock, he responded. Maybe Bog has some bolt cutters? I said. Ray nodded. My phone is dead. Are you up for a walk? I asked. He was. I gave him $20 just in case and continued tending to her. Just keep breathing, I said to her lungs. Just keep beating, I told her heart. It felt like the key to her survival was Ray getting back in time to cut the chain. I didn't know why I felt the rush, but I still believed it, and I sat nervously. Some hours passed, and she turned to look at me, her eyes wide open. She smiled. You're awake, I said with a sigh of relief. Are you her? Were her first words. Am I who? I asked, scrambling to my feet to get closer to her. She stared at me with a blissful look. I am the one who found you, I said. The man who took you, I killed him. He can't hurt you anymore. She shook her head as she sat up. No, you're her, she said with more authority. I shook my head, now unnerved. I'm not her. I don't know who she is. You're the girl from TV. I used to watch you all the time, she said. No, no, I'm not on TV, I responded quickly. Yes, you are. You're Olivia. I would watch your feed highlights every Saturday night. You were always so quiet but calculating, she said, working her way into a standing position. How do you know my name? This can't be real, I stammered. No, it's Olivi Reels. She shrieked, doing a dance I'd never seen. The chain rattled. It looked like a social media dance. I don't know what you're talking about, I replied. Yes, you do, she said, stopping, dropping her arms in her head so her eyes looked up at me darkly. I stepped back, unsure what to do, now grateful she was still on the chain. We're always watching you, she said, slowly and darkly. This isn't real, I said out loud, moving to the ladder. We're watching you now, she said, as she pointed to a camera in the corner. I turned to look where she pointed, and it turned to point at me. A red light blinked. How did I not notice it before? It was a large camera like in the movies, on a tripod in the corner. I shot up the ladder and bolted out the front. But I was locked inside my fence. I panicked, looking around. Everywhere I turned, I saw them, cameras everywhere. They had been there the whole time. How long had they been watching me? I went back inside, crawled under a blanket on the couch, but she yelled from underground, "We can still see you, stupid. We can still see you, stupid." She yelled again. I couldn't escape. I ran outside with the blanket and curled under the picnic table with the blanket covering me. She was no quieter, though, despite being outside. "We can still see you." "No, you can't," I screamed back.